Alright guys, welcome to our today lessons on flowers, inflorescence, on biology, an aspect of botany actually. Now, so today we're going to be looking at flowers, everybody. We're going to be looking at flowers. The analogous right here. Welcome to my YouTube channel again, where I break down exciting biology, chemistry, matters relating health and biochemistry. So just stay tuned. Before we go further, I would like you to quickly like this video. You can just quickly like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that. And I know you've done that now, and I'll be moving forward now. Now, I'll be looking at inflorescence today. What an inflorescence? An inflorescence is the part of a leaf modified to produce flower. So a part of a leaf modified to produce flower is called an inflorescence. So inflorescence are part of leaves modified to produce flower. Now, quickly, inflorescence can usually be of two types. It's what we call racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. These racemose inflorescences are called indeterminate inflorescence, while the cymose inflorescences are called indeterminate. My spelling, pardon me. Indeterminate. Okay, why this inflorescence is said to be determinate inflorescence. Okay, all right. Now, what's an inflorescence? First, now, if you have a shoot, for instance, a shoot system. So a shoot is usually a mature plume. So a plume, when it is fully grown, is called a shoot from an embryonic seed. Now, quickly, this is a shoot. Shoot is growing. It has roots, obviously, just a fixed system. Okay, it has roots. Now, the shoot branches off to give off the leaves. Okay, laterally, apically, can branch off to give the leaves. The shoot branch off to give the leaf. Now, a part of a leaf. Now, let's say this is a leaf system now. Okay, let's say this is a leaf system. This is a leaf system. Now, the primary axis of the leaf that will bear the flowers, that will not bear these flowers like this, that will bear the flowers. The primary axis of every leaf. Okay, let me just draw my flower in a simpler way. So let's say these are flowers. Okay, let's say all these are flowers. Let's say all this. A flower is a modified leaf, or is a leaf modified for sexual reproduction. So flowers are also leaves. So let's say all these are flowers. Now, the primary axis of the leaf that gives us the flower is called a peduncle. Please don't forget that. It's called a peduncle. Yes. So the primary axis of a leaf that arises the flower is called a peduncle. So that's the word, peduncle. The word is called a peduncle. Now, the peduncle can be arranged in different way. The flowers can be arranged on the peduncle in different way, depending on the type of inflorescence we are talking about. Now, if the inflorescence is a racemose inflorescence, what it means is that a racemose inflorescence called determinate inflorescence. This type of inflorescence, what's it called? This type of inflorescence, there's the growth is indeterminate. So the growth of the flower is indeterminate. That means older flowers are actually grown what's called beneath. So it starts with the inflorescence begins with older flowers growing. It begins to develop flowers. It keeps, so it means that in this type of inflorescence, it grows and grows and grows indefinitely. So it produces flower. This inflorescence produces flower indefinitely, such that young flowers are at the top of the inflorescence, while older flowers are beneath the inflorescence. Do you get? Such inflorescence is said to be a racemose inflorescence. They have many types, raceme and so on and so forth. Okay, now that's for racemose. Now for cymose inflorescence, is a type of inflorescence where it's more like the opposite of this. Now for cymose inflorescence, please watch. For cymose inflorescence, let's say we have a cymose inflorescence. Now it's a determinate inflorescence. Now what happens is that the older flowers grows at the top. So this could be a flower. So I'm just giving it a shape. This is not a proper shape for a flower. I'm just using it to explain. So the older flowers grows at the top. Okay. So older flowers they grow at the top. Okay. Older flower grow at the top of this inflorescence. Okay. So older flower grows at the top of this inflorescence. Then younger flowers begins to grow beneath. So it's a type of flower in which older flowers grows at the top, while younger flowers begins to grow beneath the older flowers. So there's a definite growth, there's a determinate growth. So this is the end of these inflorescence. Unlike indeterminate inflorescence, there's no end to the inflorescence of the pedicule. Do you get? So older flower grows on top, the younger flower begin to grow under the older flowers. So such that it forms what we call a basipetal succession. That's what we call it in botany. It's called a basipetal. Form we call it basipetal succession. So what I mean is that the base we have it forms like a plant that have, like, how will I put it? Like something like inflorescences are growing like this. Yes, look like brightly colored new petals are formed under, more like that. So something like a basipetal succession. So that's what we call it. So that type of inflorescence is called a Simon's inflorescence. Don't forget, Simon's inflorescence is called determinate inflorescence. The type of inflorescence whereby older flowers are on the top of the inflorescence while younger flowers grow beneath the older flowers. But unlike indeterminate inflorescence, younger flowers, it's a type of inflorescence that it grows continuously, to see younger flowers on top of the older flowers. So it keeps growing and producing younger flowers as the plant gets older. So that's for racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. Okay, all right. So we have gotten that. I've gotten that quickly. So I've gotten that. These are the types of inflorescence we have. Now, quickly, another thing I'll quickly look at again is the flower itself. Do you get? I'll quickly look at the flower itself. Flower itself is another thing I'm going to look at. Yes, why do I say look at the flower itself? Now, the flower itself is found on the primary axis called the pedicule in every leaf. Okay, now the flower usually have an attachment to the pedicule. So let's say this is the pedicule. So let's say this is the pedicule. This is the pedicule, the primary axis. Now the flower is attached to the pedicule using what we call a flower stack, or it's called a pedicule. So pedicule is called a flower stack. All right, so the flower is attached to the pedicule using a pedicule, or what we call a flower stack. Now, it should be noted that flowers that lack flower stacks, are you getting me? Flowers that lack flower stack are said to be sessile. So any flower that lacks a flower stack is said to be sessile. So sessile flowers are flowers that lack flower stack. Now, on this, the flower has basically 4 parts. So there are 4 parts of the flower. So any part you don't see is not usually part of the flower. The flower has 4 parts. Now the first part is called the androecium. Okay, androecium. It is called the microsporophy. Microsporophy. Now also called we have what we call the gymnosome. Gymnosium. Now, gymnosium is called the macrosporophy or the megasporophy. Now, it is the female part, while the androecium is the male part. Unfortunately, the female part is bigger, usually bigger than the male part in every flower. So that's why the male part is called the microsporophy. The female part is called a macrosporophy. Now, there's another part of the flower is called the corolla, and the calice. Okay, now the calice can have some outer part called epicalice. Now let me quickly explain. Now first, I'll start with the main part. The main part of the flower is called the androecium. The androecium is a group of stamen. Okay, what does stamen contain? The stamen is like the main part of the flower. So it's a group of stamen. Now the stamen usually contain, please take note of this, anther, which is called the microsporangia, and what's it called? Filament. So what's an anther? And the main garment for a plant, for a flowering plant, the main garment is called pollen. Okay, they occur in grain called pollen grain. So the main garment is called pollen or pollen grain. The pollen grain are inside the anther. They are inside the place in the anther called the pollen sac. So the anther has a pollen sac that holds the pollen grain, which carries the main garment, while the filament holds the anther to the plant. Now this is the anther, as you can see my flower. Okay, now the filament joins the anther to the plant, or joins the anther to the staminal tube. So what connects the anther to the stamen or the staminal tube is called the filament. Do you get? And the anther should be noted that it's also called the microsporangia because it bears the spore, the pollen grain. Do you get? Now it's called microsporangia. That's the name for the anther. Okay, all right. Now that's for the androecium. That's for the androecium. Now the female part of the flower is called the gymnosium or pistil. Now the pistil has what's it called now? It has various parts. It has various parts. Well, this is it. Now, a pistil or a gymnosium is a collection of carpel. So a pistil or gymnosium is a collection of carpel. So pistils are collection of carpel. Now, what is carpel? Carpels are usually of three types. Do you get? So, or there are three components of a carpel. The first one is stigma. The second one is style. And the last thing is ovary. Okay, last thing is ovary. Now I'll quickly just say this. Now, if you look at this flower very well, this is what I refer to as my, what's it called now? My as my carpel. Now, what does it contain? It contains the stigma. The stigma is the receptive part of the carpel. Do you get? What does the stigma do? The stigma receive pollen grains from the anther. Do you get? It receives pollen grains from the anther. That's what it does. Now, then the what connects the stigma to the ovary is called style. So it is the style that the pollen grain will grow through to go into the ovary and fertilize the ovule. Do you get? It is the style you go through to fertilize the ovule. Do you get? So that's so the style is like a connection between the stigma and the ovary. So the ovary is the part that contains the ovule, or that contains the female garment of the flower. Do you get? So the ovary contains the female garment of the flower. Now it should be noted that on fertilization, the ovary becomes the fruit, while the ovule becomes the seed. Okay, that should be noted, and I know you know that. Now, quickly, now for certain pistil, there can be various types of pistils, various types. So I'd like to put them here. There could be various types of pistil, various types of pistil. Okay, now a pistil first. A pistil can be monocarpous. So when a pistil or gynosium is monocarpous, it means that it has just one carpel. That means one stigma, one style, one ovary. Do you get? In most cases, monocarpous pistil usually have one ovule. That means usually have one ovule. That means this kind of fruit, if they become fruit later on, they will have one seed. In most cases, that's for monocarpous pistil. Do you get? Now, pistils can also be syncarpous. Now, what does it mean to be syncarpous? To be syncarpous means many pistils that are fused. To be syncarpous means many pistils that are fused. So it's a combination of two or more pistils, but it is fused to unite to form a single ovary. What I mean is, now this type of pistil can be from different pistils. Do you get? Different pistils, but they all unite to form a single ovary. So when two or more carpels are fused together in a pistil, when two or more carpels are fused together in a pistil, such a pistil is said to be syncarpous. So this syncarpous pistil usually can be one-seeded, could be more than one-seeded, it could be two-seeded, could be three-seeded, but in most cases they are one-seeded. Why? Because it has a single ovary. Now, for the last type of pistil, this is a classification of pistil based on the number of carpels they can have. So for the last type I have is said to be apocarpous pistil. So apocarpous pistil, this one is usually found on fruits that or plant that can produce aggregate fruits. Do you get? Now, what about apocarpous pistil? How does it look like? Apocarpous pistil is a type of pistil that have many carpels that are not fused. So many carpels that are not fused. So I have many ovary walls. So the ovary walls are very, very many. So I have many ovary walls. Do you get? So they have many ovary walls. So the carpels are said they are not, what's it called? The carpels are not fused in the pistil. So this kind of pistil, where many carpels, two or more carpels, are not fused to form a single ovary, is called an apocarpous pistil. So those are the classification of pistil or classification of the gynosium based on the number of carpels they can have. So you believe when I say that gynosium is a collection of carpels. All right. So having said that, I'll quickly say something. Now, when a flower has both male and female parts, so when a flower has both male and female parts, that flower is said to be perfect. So a perfect flower is a flower that has both male and female parts. That means it contains both androcium and gynosium. Mind you, I did not say a plant. I said when a flower has both male and female part in it, is said to be a perfect flower. Now, perfect flower are called hemaditus. Hematitos, like hermaphrodite, hematitos flowers. Usually called hematitos flowers. Some people call them hermaphroditic flower. Some other terms say hematitos flower. They are said to be perfect. Now, when a flower has just a an androecium, just the main part, okay, that flower is said to. Before I move on, before I say that, now okay, let me say it down. Let me say it. So when a flower has just a main part, just a main part with other this, because this the male and the female are the essential part of the flower, while the non-essential part of the flower is this corolla and the stem. Coming to explain. So when the only essential part in the flower is just the male, it's like a male flower. Such flowers are said to be imperfect. So these are imperfect flowers. Now when it contains only male, only male is said to be a staminate flower. Do you get? When it contains only male, it's said to be a staminate flower. When it contains only female parts, it's said to be a pistillate. It's said to be a pistillate flower. So pistillate flower have only female, what's it called that? They have only female parts. Okay? They have only female part. They don't have the male part. Now, there's this type of flower that I would like us to understand. It's called a staminate flower. Okay? A staminal flower. What is staminal flower? Staminal flowers are pistillate flowers that have sterile stamen. So it's a flower, but the main part in this flower is sterile. Do you get? So when the stamen or the androecium in the flower is sterile, that means it cannot be involved in reproduction. That kind of flower is said to be staminode. Please take note of that. It's said to be staminode. Okay, you can see that in some carica species. Okay, so it's said to be staminode. All right. So having known that, I'll quickly talk about the corolla and the calice. Then I'll classify the ovary again. I'll classify the pistil again. Now watch. Now the corolla is the colored part of the flower. So the part of the flower that is colored is called the corolla. So corolla is a collection of petals. Okay, the corolla is a collection of petals. So petal is that part of the flower that is brightly colored. So these are my petals. So collection of petals in the corolla, they can be fused. Do you get? So as we have said, the corolla is a collection of petals. Do you get? Corolla is a collection of petals. The petal is the brightly colored part of the flower. These are the petals. They're the eye-catching part of the flower. They're the ones that attract the insect. Okay. Now the corolla, as I said, the corolla could be fused. The petals could be fused in the corolla. So when petals are fused in the corolla, such petals are said to be gametopetaloids. So they are said to be gametopetaloids. So gametopetaloids, they fuse to form a corolla tube. This can be seen in hibiscus. So petals can fuse and form a corolla tube. You can see that in hibiscus. Such petals are said to be gametopetaloids. Now when petals are free, collection of petals, when they are free on the corolla, such petals are said to be polypetalious. So they are said to be polypetalious. So polypetalious flowers are seen, or polypetalious corolla can be seen in a sunflower. A sunflower can have that. So that's for corolla. Do you get? So corolla is essential. It's an essential part for pollination. Do you get? So pollination for pollination, especially for insect pollinated flowers, the petals are very important. The petals should be brightly colored to attract insects. Do you get? Now, the green part of a flower is called the calice. The green part of the flower, the outermost part of the flower, or the outermost part of the flower is usually called the calice. So something like this, okay, usually called the calice. Now, the calice is a collection of sepal. Now, the calice is the part of the flower that is green. Do you get? It's a collection of sepals. So sepals are green. So they could also form a tube. Do you get? They could also form a tube. Now, when sepals are also fused in a calice, it is such calice is said to be gametosepalioids. Okay, gametosepalioids or gametosepalioid. Okay, they're said to be gametosepalioid. That's when sepals are fused. But when sepals are free in a calice, it is said to become it's usually called a polysepalioid. So sometimes you must have seen some flower that the sepal will fuse to enclose this calice, forms a tube. That the flower will look like something like this. So you see the sepal, this is the sepal, the calice. Then the other flower parts will arise. Do you get? The sepal fuse to form something like a tube. Okay, this type of sepal, in which the sepals are fused together to form a tube holding the flower, that kind of sepal is said to be or that kind of callus is said to be a gametosepalous callus. Okay, now that being said, now callus can be of various steps. There's what we call persistent callus. Okay, persistent callus. Now, what's a persistent callus? A persistent callus is a callus that grows with the fruit. Remember, this flower, this ovary becomes the fruit after fertilization. I said that earlier. This ovary becomes the fruit after fertilization. Now, when the callus still grows, so when a fruit is matured and the fruit still has the callus to it or the sepals to it, such callus is said to be persistent. You can see that in Tridus. You can see that in a plant called Tridus. Tridus has what we call a persistent callus. Do you get? Now that's for persistent callus. Now many callus or many plants have this type of callus. It is called a deciduous callus. Deciduous callus. So deciduous callus are callus that wither off during during the maturation of a fruit. So when fruit arises from a flower, the callus that wither off with time are said to be deciduous. Do you get? Now quickly, I'll say this before I leave this part. Now for some cases, for some plants, the petals can resemble the sepal. Rather, the petal and the sepal becomes indistinguishable. When a sepal and a petal is indistinguishable, it is called a tepal. So a tepal is a petal and a sepal that cannot be distinguished. Do you get? A collection of tepal is called a parient segment. So a collection of tepal is called a parient segment. Do you get? When tiny leaves grow on the surface of the callus, or they grow on the bodies of the sepal. When tiny leaves grow on the bodies of the sepal, so when leaves grow on the sepal, those leaves are not really callus. They're usually called epicallus. They are bracts. So a bract, first, what is a bract? A bract is the tiny leaves that can grow on the body of a flower. Leaves that are not flower or part of the flower that grows on the body of the flower, it's called a bract. The word, so I think I labeled it earlier, it's called the bract, or they grow just beneath the flower. So when the bract grows on the surface of the callus, it is called an epicallus. Now, having known what is an epicallus, bracts could have various steps. There's a type of bract we call spikes. Yes, now they are called glumus. Now this type of bracts, they enclose grasses in them. There are bracts that have grasses in them. It can be seen in Oryza species. So they have spikelets of grasses inside of them. That's such bracts. Such bracts are called glumus. Remember, bracts are non-floral parts. They are not part of the inflorescence. They grow on the surface of the inflorescence, or they grow on the main primary axis close to the inflorescence. Now, some bract grows on the pedicel. So the pedicel is what attaches the flower to the primary axis. What attaches the flower to the primary axis is the pedicel. When a bract grows on the surface of the pedicel, it is called a bracteolus or a bracteolus. Yes, we call it bracteolus. So bracteolus are bracts that grows on the pedicel. You get that? Having known that, I will have to classify what's it called? I will have to classify flowers based on the position of the ovary. Now, first, when a flower is having the ovary, so when the ovary is above the receptacle, so the receptacle is somewhere here. When the ovary is above the receptacle, so let me draw here. So we have a receptacle. Okay, when the ovary is above the receptacle, and other floral part arises just beneath. It arises from just beneath the receptacle. So other floral part arises from just beneath the ovary. Pardon me. Other floral part arises from just beneath the ovary. This ovary is said to be superior. Do you get? This ovary is said to be a superior ovary. Superior ovary are found of flower that are hypogynous. So when an ovary is superior, such flower is said to be hypogynous because the gynosium is slightly above the other floral part, or is slightly above it's not slightly above, it's above the receptacle and slightly above other floral parts. Do you get? Now, the second type of ovary is what we call inferior ovary. You will observe the contrast now. You observe the difference. Now, contrary to this one, contrary to superior ovary, an inferior ovary is actually an ovary in which the ovary is totally embedded. So the ovary is embedded in the receptacle, not all the female part. You can have the stigma outside. The ovary is embedded in the receptacle. We will say at the receptacle form a ring around the ovary. So the receptacle form a ring around the ovary. And other floral part arises above, what's it called now? Other floral part arises from a point above the ovary. So other floral part arises from point above the ovary. This kind of ovary is said to be inferior. It's totally embedded in the receptacle. Now, inferior ovary are found in flowers that are said to be epigynous. So epigynous, gynosium usually below the arising of other floral parts. Epigynous. Now, thirdly, when a floral part, pardon, please watch this. When a floral part is, what's it called? Is not, is, how will I put it down? Now, the last type of ovary is said to be half inferior ovary. So we have an half inferior ovary. We have an half inferior ovary. Now, what's an half inferior ovary? An half inferior ovary is a type of ovary in which the ovary is not totally embedded in the receptacle. So the ovary is not totally, is partially embedded. Okay, the ovary is partially embedded in the receptacle. Now, the other floral part arises from the same level as the ovary. Other floral part arises from the same level as the ovary. This type of ovary is said to be half inferior. It's said to be half inferior. And half inferior ovary are found on flowers we call perigynous. Perigynous flowers. So that's another way to classify flowers based on the position of the ovary. And I would like to quickly say this. Now, for some plants, for some flower, that are perfect, for perfect flowers, okay, remember they are called hermaphroditic flowers, while imperfect flowers are called declinous or deciduous flowers. Imperfect flowers, that means either pistillate or stamen are called deciduous flowers. Now, hermaphroditic flowers are perfect flowers, or hermaphroditous flowers, the perfect flowers. Now, for perfect flowers, for some perfect flowers, they exhibit what we call, or what we refer to as dichogamy. It exhibit what we refer to as dichogamy. Now, what is dichogamy? Dichogamy, or a dichogynous flower, is a flower in which the male develop before the female, or the female develop before the male. Now, it could be protoandrous. It could be protoandrous, or it could be protogynous. So I just want to this is a tip, a bonanza to this video. Now, protoandrous flower, the androsium, the male mature before the female. Protogynous flower, the female develop before the male. Do you get? Remember, dichogynous flower is a type of perfect flower in which the male or the female develop before each other. While homogamous flower, okay, homogamous flower is a type of flower in which the male and the female part is a perfect flower in which the male and the female part develop at the same time. So it's just a bonus to this video, just a quick bonus to this video. Now, quickly, I'll say this one more time. Now, if flowers are radially symmetrical, if a flower is radially symmetrical, if a flower can be divided radially into axes, is radially symmetrical, such flower is said to be an actinomorphic flower. So that flower is said to be an actinomorphic flower or a regular flower. So actinomorphic flower are flowers that are radially symmetrical. That's how a normal flower is supposed to be. So normal flower is supposed to be divided radially into axes. Do you get? Just like this one, radially into axes. But when a flower is bilaterally symmetrical, when a flower is bilaterally symmetrical, such flower is said to be irregular, and we call it zygomorphic flower. So a zygomorphic flower is a flower that is irregular, that is irregular, and it is bilaterally symmetrical. It is bilaterally symmetrical. I know this video has been a little bit long. I've said a lot in this video, dropped a lot of information. You can pause and play, ask questions in the comment section. When it was not clear, say it in the comment section, and this community is here to help you. And like the video, subscribe to this video if it was helpful. Help me share to your friends that will need it. I remain Diana Lagos. Until the next video, it's a bye. See you.